live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California. I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com or wherever you get your podcasts and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist and author of 54 Miles, a novel, Leonard Pitts Jr. is back for a conversation that is always part political, part social, part cultural, but always insightful, and you can spell insightful either way. In our third hour, two conversations. Up first, tech innovator and entrepreneur Neville Boston on his company, Reviver. Now, hear me on this. If you have not heard about the digital platform Reviver, do not miss the top of hour three. There are many in the tech world who believe that Reviver is the next big thing, and a black man is running it. We'll talk about that on the top side of hour three. On the B side of hour three, Kenny Hampton, president of the African American Male Wellness Agency, on black men getting their minds, bodies, and spirits right for the holiday season and the new year. But in this first hour, two more conversations. On the B side of this hour, attorney and environmentalist Tamara Toles O'Laughlin on the ways in which the climate change movement is going to be challenged by Trump 2.0. But we commence today's show talking politics with Kevin Merida, the brother who was a managing editor for the Washington Post and executive editor for the LA Times. Talk about a resume, good Lord. Kevin is co-curator of a new book called Kamala, her historic, joyful, and auspicious sprint to the White House, and I am pleased to have Kevin Merida back on this program. Kev, how are you today, sir?
Hey, Tavis, I'm good, man. How are you?
If I complained, I'd be an ingrate, brother. I'm delighted to have you on this program. And I was just laughing and saying to one of my people here at the studio that some days you just luck up. Of course, my big mama wouldn't let me use the word luck. Big mama always say, it ain't no, she'd say, baby, it ain't no good luck. It's a good God. That's Big Mama. It ain't no good luck.
That's right.
It's a good God. Anyway, sometimes you are fortunate to have the right guest on the right day at the right time. And Lord, how fortunate are we to have Kevin Merida. Why? We just talked yesterday about Donald Trump. We'll get to Kamala, the book, in just a second. It's a beautiful book, and I want to talk about the book. But we talked yesterday at the in the first hour, first half hour, first full hour, in fact, of this program about Donald Trump winning that lawsuit, as it were, that defamation suit against ABC. And people are still talking about that, whether ABC caved, whether they should have fought that. They clearly have the First Amendment on their side. Defamation is hard to prove, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all heard the first hour yesterday. And I told you that everybody was concerned that this meant that Donald Trump was going to go buck wild. That victory against ABC News to the tune of $16 million, $15 to his library, $1 million in legal fees, was going to open the floodgates. And what do we know today? Surprise, surprise. Donald Trump has now sued the Des Moines Register. And he has sued them, why? For what they are calling consumer fraud. He's suing Ann Seltzer, her polling firm, and the Des Moines Register, the newspaper's parent company as well, Gannett, accusing them once again of consumer fraud. Here's the argument. They kept running articles that showed Kamala Harris with a 3 percentage point lead in Iowa. But Trump ran away with Iowa. So it's consumer fraud. It's false advertising. That's my phrase. But it's really consumer fraud, not so much false advertising. You take the point. He's going after them for running articles repeatedly that he says, even though he won, cost him votes in Iowa, because they were running this argument, these narratives every day that Kamala was leading him by 3 points in Iowa, and it wasn't nowhere near that when all was said and done. He won by about 14 points, as I recall. So you see why I say it's good to have Kevin Merida on, having run the Washington Post and the LA Times. I suspect there'll be more of these, Kevin. He's already got lawsuits in against CNN, against the New York Times, against NBC, as I recall. So what happened with ABC over the weekend is, again, many believe opening up the floodgates. I digress. Your thoughts on this particular story, and we'll jump from there.
Yeah, Tavis, it's very troubling for all of us that are in the media, but also I think citizens across the country where the principles of democracy, and which includes a free press and freedom of information, is being challenged by the person coming into the White House. I think that what lawsuits do is try to exact a kind of intimidation, tie you up, force you to spend lots of resources that could go to other things on fighting these suits, and that's going to be an ongoing battle for those of us in media. I have no idea why ABC did what they did. I'm not privy to the conversations internally. Who knows what happened there? But I do know across the industry, and as I talk to some of my colleagues, I think there will be an effort to fight rigorously against this. And, in the case of the Des Moines Register, look, I mean, there was you can always be off on polling. That does happen sometimes. Polling is pretty good, though, now, I'll say that. And sometimes it doesn't happen, but it wasn't a deliberate attempt to, cook the numbers. There's been no evidence of that, just that, hey, the polling can be off sometimes, and that happens.
Well, we argued yesterday that George Stephanopoulos, I don't think, deliberately called Trump guilty of rape. I mean, there's a fine line between rape and sexual assault in the law in New York State. Deliberate or not, ABC still paid. Some say ABC caved, and that's the concern here. And it takes a lot of money to tie up the Des Moines. Gannett is not a small company. But the Des Moines Register, as you know, ain't the biggest paper in their arsenal. It's going to cost money to fight these things. And so it's going to be fascinating to see in the weeks and months and years to come. Donald Trump clearly is going to be aggressive about suing these media outlets. How they respond writ large is the question of the day. We shall see. When we come forward, one other question for Kevin Merida, and then we'll jump into the book. The other question I want to ask, given that he has been, again, the managing editor in his career for the Washington Post, the executive editor of the LA Times. Brothers don't get a chance to do that every day. It's a rare thing. Kevin Merida is a big deal. But both of those papers, as you recall, did not endorse in this election. All of a sudden, out of the blue, they don't want to endorse. I've not had a chance to ask Kevin Merida, having worked for both of those papers, what he thought of that. We'll do that and more when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
On behalf of the Ayers family, KBLA Talk 1580 announces the public funeral services for our very own Robin Ayers on Saturday, December 21st, 12 noon, in the living room at the Faithful Central Bible Church, 400 West Florence Avenue in Inglewood. Robin will be sorely missed by all who knew her and the many lives she touched. We will hold on to our fondest memories forever. Family and friends are invited to come celebrate Robin's joyful life Saturday, December 21st at 12 noon in the living room at Faithful Central Bible Church, 400 West Florence Avenue in Inglewood. KBLA Talk 1580 extends sincere condolences to the Ayers family. Robin will always be in our hearts.
Whether you're going over the river and through the woods in the capable Silverado 1500, getting the choir to church on time in the 3-row Traverse,
Thank you!
or driving cross town to deliver your famous Cajun-spiced holiday turkey in the Equinox EV, America's most affordable EV with a 315-plus mile range. Add confidence to every holiday adventure and get it done with a rugged and capable Chevy truck or SUV. Now, during Red Tag, get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 26.8%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 1/2/25.
Thank you.
Thanks to Total Wine, you saved more on all the gifts for the ones you adore. Wine, spirits, beers, all nestled on shelves. Got some advice from our helpful elves. Oh, so many gifts to explore when you go to Total Wine and More. Bottles so delightful, whoa. Priced so amazingly low.
Curbside pickup and delivery available, and the lowest prices for over 30 years only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly. B21.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Tavis Smiley and Kevin Meriter, former executive editor of the Los Angeles Times, former managing editor for the Washington Post. Neither of those papers endorsed in this most recent presidential race. What did you make of it, Kevin Meriter?
Well, I thought it was perplexing, the timing of it. And I think there's a case to be made for being out of the endorsement business. If you're an editorial board, I think our profession has to continue to evolve. And editorial boards have changed, and they continue to change. But I think the timing of it so close to the election, that was the statement that people reacted to. And in those examples, the reader spoke, right? Like lots of subscriptions canceled. I read 250,000 for my former Washington Post, and it's something like whether 19,000 I read or more, 22,000 at the LA Times. So obviously people have a lot of strong opinions about that. And even though it's not necessarily, hey, you get an endorsement and I'm going to go to the polls and vote the way an editorial board suggested, but it's a kind of a leadership role in any institution in these cities, and I think people expect it. Have come to expect it. So that didn't happen. But I'm not going to second guess all of the decisions. There's been a lot to talk about. Everybody's weighed in on that one. I don't believe in canceling subscriptions to news organizations because I want to support journalists. So I still have my subscriptions to the Washington Post and to the LA Times.
To that point, finally, and we'll move to the book. The book is called Kamala, Her Historic, Joyful, and Auspicious Sprint to the White House. We'll spend the rest of our time talking about that with Kevin Meriter. How concerned are you, to the extent you are at all, about journalists, about the news business as we move into Trump 2.0?
I mean, we have to be very tough and vigilant and aggressive about continuing to cover things that matter in this country. And, the media is not fearful, right? We withstood all kinds of attacks and threats on us, and we're still here. Journalism is here to stay. I don't think you can intimidate yourself out of journalism. So I see a lot of effort to fight against any encroachment of a free press and our ability to do our jobs. And it's going to take, resources, of course, but it's going to take a lot of just vigilance and toughness and determination, which I think exists across the media. I think one of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot is because we tend to focus on the national outlets and the New York Times and Washington Post and the CNNs, is just what's going on in local communities. We have to get closer to our communities and to understand what's really, really going on, as Marvin Gaye said way back, what's going on. And I think there's a lot of effort to bolster local community journalism, and I think that's the thing to watch for. I'm involved in an effort in Los Angeles with something like 20 local community news organizations under a kind of consortium. And I think we need to see more of that, and we will see more of that kind of reporting at the grassroots local level, and that'll be very important.
You don't get Kevin Merida on and not ask a few of those types of questions. So I appreciate his responding to those. Now to the reason he's really on this program today. I talk about his new book. It's called Kamala, her historic, joyful, and auspicious sprint to the White House. For those watching right now on YouTube, in a moment I'm going to hold this book up and show you the cover. There's a particular question I want to ask Kevin Merida about the cover design on the book. I'll do that in just a second. Before I do that, it is a gorgeous book of beautiful photos and great stories. What was the intent and the purpose of doing this text to begin with, Kevin?
Well, I think we have to capture history. First of all, we were asked by the same editor, Don Davis, who was the editor for a book Deborah Willis and I co-authored in 2008, Obama, the historic campaign of photographs, and we wanted to work together again. You know, if I'm sure you know Deborah Willis, maybe many of your audience do. She's one of the preeminent visual historians in the country. Many books about Black life and Black beauty and excellence, and we wanted to work together again. I think that history, whether or not Kamala Harris was going to win, she obviously didn't win. Her campaign was historic, and she's been an historic figure. And this is a photographic biography. It takes stock of her life and career and her rise and all of the moments in between, and takes you through the campaign, which was historic. You know, her life and career has just been filled with history. She's the first woman, South Asian, Black American to do many things, you know, including becoming district attorney and California Attorney General, and now then to run as a nominee on a major political party, and of course to be first vice president who is a woman and South Asian and Black. So I think sometimes if you don't take stock of history can evaporate, you know, and you have to put it down. And I think photography is the visual form is so important. It allows you to leaf through and see images and come to your own decisions about those images. And you might look at the images and think about where you were at the time. It's a keepsake, but it's also just a recorded artistic document of a very fascinating historic woman.
Her loss notwithstanding, as a journalist, what are the things that you suggest that we hold on to historically vis-a-vis one Kamala Harris and this race for the White House?
I'm sorry, I missed that question, Tavis.
No, I said her loss notwithstanding, it was still historic. What are the pieces of that historic run that you suggest we hold on to, that we wrestle with, that we hold dear from the race itself?
Well, I think if you have 107 days to run, I think she put joy at the center of it, and I do think that there's something about the courses of our politics. I mean, I think everybody reacts to that, how we certainly have a lot of divisions and disagreements around issues. But it's possible to have a campaign that is not just steeped in degradation and meanness. And I think that she tried to bring a lot of people to it. You know, some of the photos that we saw of her connecting with children and the way that they reacted. I think it was just something great to look at and observe. And I think campaigns are always brutal affairs, and you're scrapping and you're trying to win. But I think we really have to look at how we run campaigns and how do we bring a country together that has a lot of divisions and have a greater, more civil conversation. And we'll see if that happens going forward.
Yeah, I say this respectfully, but I suspect there's some listener right now who says, I love Kevin Merida. He's historic, running the Washington Post, running the LA Times. But that last comment, Tavis, was a bit naive. I mean, we had a guest on yesterday who was talking about Black joy as a form of resistance. She made a powerful point about black joy as one of many forms of resistance. And yet you and I both know, you used the word brutal, that our politics are hardcore. And so much has been made about this word joyful and how joyful her campaign was. Who cares? What does joy have? What's joy got to do with it when you get your behind whipped the way she did in this campaign? I hear your point that campaigns are mean business, but is joy the answer to the prayer when you're running against a guy like Donald Trump? And to your own admission, when our politics are more brutal now than ever before, I'm not sure joy is the answer.
Well, I think we could assess the campaign. My own view would be that there was not much that she could have done that would have changed the outcome. I mean,
right.
The outcome was she lost by less than 2% of the popular vote. I mean, our elections are pretty much now ever since we had 2000, with the exception of Obama, they're close affairs. Like, everybody is in a close election. That's the visions of the country and the way the math works. With presidential elections, there are a handful of states in play, and it's about, can you get your vote out? Can you keep your vote? And that shifts from election to election. She certainly lost some of the vote that Biden had in 2020, but she also gained some in areas. And I think the thing is to look at it like, we don't really know our country very well. These big demographic kind of categories, college-educated white women, or Latino men 18 to 35, or black men, hemorrhaging to Trump. Like, we need to dig deeper into those categories. The categories are too big to really know. They're not sophisticated enough. So I would say that for someone who ran a campaign for 107 days, she did pretty well. Like, and it's not really just with joy. She was very effective in a lot of ways. Certainly early with memes. You have to kind of pull together a party that really was divided about their own standard bearer, President Biden. And he had to do that very fast and have people coalesce and then gain. So I don't know. I think we'll continue to assess it.
Right.
I agree with you, though. Joy is not going to win you a campaign, but I do think that the coarseness. I do think we got to find some kind of way. People are pushing back against just the bitterness and coarseness of politics, and I think that's turning people against institutions of government and institutions across the country.
I'll take it a step further. I believe, and I've got a growing list of these things, poverty is on the list, climate change is on the list. I believe there are a number of things that are threats literally to our democracy. And I think incivility, I could add gerrymandering. This audience hears me discuss these things all the time. I believe that incivility is a serious threat to the future of this democracy. I digress on that. I was holding the book up.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I was holding the book up for the audience to see, for those who are watching on YouTube, because I wanted them to see how that little arrow in the cover design, you added the word joyful. It says her historic arrow, joyful, gets added, and auspicious sprint to the White House. So they wanted to make sure that they put that word joyful in the title. But I got 2.5 minutes here left. I mentioned incivility as a threat to our democracy. I heard you said you agree. Tell me a bit more about why you agree with that.
Well, I think that, we're not going to get anywhere. Like we have some people stuck with their own point of views. We can't agree on shared sets of facts. There's just a cottage industry of misinformation pushed. And it's very hard to clear the brush of misinformation and disinformation.
Yeah.
And I think if we don't have some kind of sense that we can debate the biggest topics today and be able to listen to each other, we're just going to be continually mired and stuck in a place where we're just always the meanest things are said and done. And I don't know that we're going to be able to move the country forward through meaning. I
believe in history. I'm a student of history, as is Kevin Merida, and this is the most beautiful, the most gorgeous book I have seen to date that really chronicles this campaign, this historic run that Kamala Harris made toward the White House. And if you are students of history and you want something in your library for you and your kids and your grandkids to always recall this moment, you want to get a copy. Christmas is a good time to get one, right? Get a copy. This book is called Kamala, Her Historic, Joyful, and Auspicious Sprint to the White House. Once again, Kamala, Her Historic, Joyful, and Auspicious Sprint to the White House by Deborah Willis and Kevin Merida. A beautiful piece of work, and the story of her historic run is one we want to treasure forever. I recommend the book. I should mention right quick, I got 10 seconds left before I lose Kevin Merida. I don't often do this, but I believe in family, and holiday season is the time of families coming together. It just so happens I've known Kevin forever, and his wife Donna Britt, a brilliant columnist in her own right, and it just so happens that their youngest son, Sky Merida, works for us. And so anything that you see on the social media for Tavis Smiley, all my social media platforms, their son Sky does all that for me. All the stuff from my home station in L.A., their son Sky does that for us. So shout out to Sky Merida and the Merida family. Kevin, happy holidays, man. Good to have you on the program.
Hey, thank you, Tavis. Appreciate you.
Stay strong, brother. Appreciate you. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Donald Trump's 34-count hush money felony conviction will stand. A New York judge denied his motion to dismiss the indictment and verdict, rejecting his argument for presidential immunity. A Manhattan, New York grand jury may indict Luigi Mangione for the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione was arrested in Pennsylvania, and Governor Kathy Hochul plans to extradite him to New York once indicted. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas stated there's no evidence that the recent surge in drone activity poses a national security or public safety threat. Drones and mysterious lights have been reported in several states. And walking 7,000 steps a day may reduce the risk of depression by 31%. That's according to Spanish researchers who analyzed 33 studies involving nearly 100,000 people. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
New deals just dropped at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select holiday decor clearance. Plus, save with weekly deal drops on appliances, tools, and more. Valid 12/12 through 12/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers snapped a 3-game losing streak Monday night by dropping 144 points on the Utah Jazz. James Harden scored 34 of his 41 points in the first half. The championship game of the NBA Cup tournament is tonight in Vegas. Milwaukee takes on Oklahoma City. $500,000 to each player on the winning team. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked number 1 in the nation, is 11-0 after a 32-point win over Cal Poly. Bruins forward Janiyah Barker filled up her stat line with 12 points, 13 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 block shots. Former USC quarterback Caleb Williams continues to have a rough rookie season in the NFL. The Chicago Bears are 4-10 after losing at Minnesota Monday night. The 10 losses are more than the number of defeats Williams had during his 2 years at USC. Williams was 18-8 as the Trojans quarterback. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. you're in good hands with Allstate.
We wish you a holiday season filled with peace and love and a new year rich with blessings. Mask up and stay safe. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
People making lists, buying special gifts.
The revolution will not be televised.
This is Brother Cornell West. My dear brothers and sisters, I'm full of joy and delight to announce that I'm joining the precious family at KBLA Talk 1580, founded and led by my dear, dear brother Tavis Smiley himself. Yes, the name of the show is Truth Time, and I'll be working with the inimitable Nina Turner out of Cleveland, Ohio, sister of great vision, and we will be on weekdays at 12 noon. We will be following Brother Tavis Smiley's show. We will begin Monday, January the 6th. That's right, Monday, January the 6th. Get ready for a different kind of insurrection. We coming with Martin Luther King Jr. and Fannie Lou Hamer and Curtis Mayfield and Aretha Franklin, and gonna add a little Gil Scott Heron too, as Nina Simone sits at the center. That's right.
The revolution will be live.
That's what we gonna do. Please come with us on this fantastic voyage.
The revolution will put you in the driver's seat.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SNAP to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
You are indeed. I'm glad about it. I have been honored all this year as we head toward the final days of 2024. That went fast. I have been honored all this year to be the moderator of a significant number. I was just looking at our list last night in preparation for this final conversation today. Looking back over the year at all the conversations I have been able to curate, and my home station in L.A., we've done this all year long, talking about climate justice, climate equity, and climate resilience. We made this our theme for 2024. In our agenda, our end and aim unapologetically was to push this issue of climate justice higher up on the American agenda and to raise the civic IQ of our audience around these issues of climate. I said 12 months ago, I still say now, if we are the disproportionate victims of these climate maladies, why are we so quiet, so silent in this conversation? You'll recall back in June, the day before Juneteenth, I moderated a international conversation about climate justice on C-SPAN for 3 hours. There we were live on C-SPAN with a stage full of nothing but black folk. First time ever the country and the world had seen a stage of nothing but black folk talking about the issues of climate justice, climate equity, and climate resilience. One of the highlights, frankly, of my year, pushing that issue again higher up on the American agenda and certainly higher up on the African-American agenda. So all year long, we've had these conversations with all kinds of African-American experts. Again, we've, I think, raised the profile of the persons who look like you and me, who are doing the important work of climate. We know that in Trump 2.0, they're going to do a 180 on so much of what has been accomplished over the last 4 years. Whatever Joe Biden may or may not have gotten done, the one thing that everybody agrees on, that he gets high marks on, is his, again, raising this issue of climate in so many ways for us to take stock of. So he gets high marks on that from the environmental community. And so this is the final conversation of the year. And for all the people I've talked to every week, it seems, for this year, for all the people I've talked to, this is our final conversation of the year about climate. And I'm pleased to have attorney and environmentalist Tamara Toles O'Laughlin to share her thoughts about how the climate change movement, in fact, is going to be impacted by Trump 2.0. Tamara, good to have you on the program, even though you're bringing up the rear.
Glad to be here, and it's as good as the front, if you ask me.
I ain't mad at you. It is as good as the front, and I'm glad to have you on. Let me just jump in and make the most of these minutes that we have here. First of all, give me a quick bit of background about Tamara and how you got in this environmental lane, and I'll jump from there.
Sure. So I'm a second-generation environmentalist from Brooklyn, New York. My mother was a water protector in New York City and retired in 2019 after 35 years in the work. So finding out how it is the water comes through the tap and into your house was pretty standard information where I live. So knowing that you could do it before living, wanted to make sure that I could enjoy the things that belong to all of us, it was pretty easy for me to move into this work as I came into my own. So glad to be here.
What are we to make of, even in 2024, the fact that black folk in particular, or poor people more broadly, still have issues with water? Whether we're talking Flint or Jackson, Mississippi, or any number of other places, why is it that we are always having issues with our drinking water?
Because water is life. It's more valuable than money. It's better than Bitcoin. And anybody who tells you different is trying to steal your money and get you to buy some Bitcoin. So I feel like it's really important for us to connect the dots on the fact that everywhere we are, the air is dirty, the water is poisoned, and people are dying earlier than they need to, because that's the stuff that makes it possible to live and not just to serve people till you die. So if we're fighting for it, anywhere we're fighting for it is a place where we should all be paying attention.
Yep. And why is it, no naivete here, Tamara, with this question, but why is it that we have to fight for those things? It seems to me that there are certain things that ought to be God-given rights, and if anything's on that list, it ought to be clean air and clean water, et cetera, et cetera. Why is it that people of color and poor people are always fighting for what ought to be basics?
Because dignity and care and avoidance of poverty are all things that were forced on us as fights we need to be in by people who have abused clean air and clean water. What we don't have is an abundant supply. Frankly, folks have been talking about it this year. We're running low on clean water and soil you can grow your food in. So the fights we've been having is because it was always a finite source. And the people who have ruined it want to make sure we are busy fighting them and not claiming what's ours.
Yep. What's your sense of what the trajectory is going to be for those abusers that you just referenced over the next 4 years?
I think they're going to have a lot more airplay. That's why being in conversations like this is so important, because convincing us that we don't need it, that it's a nice to have instead of a must to have, gives people who have had an advantage by wasting our labor and taking our labor, gives them a chance to get even more of it as much as they can. So whether they're selling it to us and making it expensive while they get it for free, whether they are packaging it and bottle it to us as something that is fancy and hard to get to, or telling you that the brown water and the brown air is just fine and you'll be all right. All of it is a campaign to get us off our game and to take what's hard to get.
One of the things I'm keeping my eye on, and I'm quite frankly concerned about this, and we know that Republicans tend to be more anti-regulation than Democrats, and I suspect that if what we are reading in Project 2025, what has come out of Donald Trump's mouth, is the standard for the next 4 years. There's going to be a whole lot of anti-regulation, which is to say that when they get in, they're going to start wiping out the word, blotting out the word, whiting out the word, the phrase climate change everywhere, and starting to advance an agenda of anti-regulation. If you share the same concern as I do, how much further is that going to set us back if we get 4 years of an anti-environmental regulation agenda?
Well, it depends on whether or not we choose to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, there are no political axes that make it possible for us not to need soil to grow food, water to be clean, air to be breathable. And so whether or not it's regulated depends on whether or not we push back, like we have always done, no matter what number was in front of the president's office or where they came from, Queens or anywhere else. we have always pushed for basic rights, dignity, poverty, not to be poisoned. We have always been in this work before it was cute, before it was cool, before there was influencers. And so anti-regulation just means they're going to mess with the labels. They're going to make it harder to protect yourself and your family. And for Black people, that's nothing new. We weren't safe before today. We don't look like we're going to be safer tomorrow. And so keeping track of what is real, focusing less on how to get rich quick and instead of getting rich in the things that cannot be bought and sold, those are the places where if we put our energy and build our community and stay in our conversations, we will do well, just like we've managed to survive a country that never had our support in its mind.
Yep. I've asked this question and many others over the last few weeks, given what happened on November the 5th. And when we come forward, I want to ask you this question as well. Let me tell you where I want to go, and we'll let you unpack it again when we come forward in just a second. And that is the question of resistance, what resistance looks like. We had a wonderful conversation with one of our guests yesterday about the historic nature of Black people and how we have pushed back, how we have resisted in moments just like these. And so you've teed it up and laid it out quite nicely. But I want to ask, in this particular space, what does resistance look like over the next 4 years? Our guest is Tamara Toles O'Laughlin. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
It's that holiday time of year. Give the gift of hearing to you or a loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today. Audien Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audienhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com. Hurry, don't miss Audien Hearing's Christmas sale live, now through December 15th.
Somebody bring out the confetti, baby!
Starting Monday, January 6th, KBLA Talk 1580 has a new midday lineup.
I'm excited!
Are you ready for Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, and E. Quarterly Corte back-to-back?
Oh my God!
Are you really ready for all this smoke?
I'm ready, brother!
Yes, we still have Dominique DePrima in the mornings and Zoe Williams in the evenings, but middays just got lit on KBLA Talk 1580.
We on fire!
All across America, people are talking about our new midday lineup. Starting Monday, January 6th, our KBLA 1580 app downloads are on fire because everybody's going to be tuning in.
Yes, I love you guys. You are the bomb.
Now would be a good time to hit up SMB at KBLA1580.com if you want folks to hear about your business or brand. That's SMB at KBLA1580.com. It's going up in 2025 on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's going up. That's what I want.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Tamara Toles O'Laughlin, who made the point just a moment ago that Black folk historically know how to navigate moments in in our lives where we are disenfranchised politically, economically, socially, and culturally. So Trump 2.0 in some ways ain't nothing new for us. We can survive 400 years. We can survive another 4 years, as someone said on this program the other day. But while we may be strong and know how to navigate moments like these tomorrow, before I get to what resistance looks like, I was reading a number of articles last night in preparation for our conversation today. And again, while black folk may be strong, Trump's climate threats have rattled the scientific world. They are shook. And so what advice would you have for all the science community who are bracing themselves, already shook by what he said he intends to do in terms of anti-regulation, denying the science? What's your advice for them?
Sounds like they need to find the partners and community that they needed to make this stuff relevant long before now. As a person who has a technical hat and a more important relational infrastructure hat where I live and where my people are, it is important that the facts are married to a community. If you don't have people, then you need money. And if your science depends on being able to have a government that's in your favor, it's because you don't have people who force the government to be accountable.
Yep.
So frankly, I think their concerns are founded, but what they need to do is be in the communities that they serve, go to places where people are threatened, make sure people know that, and start to get tactical.
Let me ask you to go a little further in that regard. It sounds to me, not sounds like it's not just me, I'm sure the audience hears it as well, that clearly you have an indictment of the way things have not been done, an indictment of the movement. You tell me more. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but give me more about what your indictment is or has been of the way things have been done or not done, as it were.
Sure. I'm going into my third decade of time in this work, and I think that we have never had a problem defining what we're dealing with. What we have had a problem with is building relationships with people who are impressed because it would involve untangling the status quo to get it. So I think we don't have people who don't care about what's happening on climate change in our communities. We have organizations that don't have the ability to absorb and metabolize a point of view that changes relationship to power. And so I think what we are facing is a moment where we will either keep the status quo and watch everything burn, or we will shift into a position where we move from mutual aid to mutual capability, which means respecting that we know what we know who is with us, and we should be growing a pool of people who are with us, not trying to find the white paper that tells people the things we've been saying for 30 years, the 87,000 piece of evidence that Exxon knew what it knew, the billions opportunity to yell from the rooftops that we can't keep going in the direction we're going in. These things are a given. It's time to build the group of people who are calling for it.
When we come forward in our remaining moments with Tamara Toles O'Laughlin, I want to ask you at least two questions. One, given what she's just said about expanding our pool, whether or not she thinks we're making progress, as I intimated earlier, raising the civic IQ of our community in particular. That's the reason for all these conversations all year long about issues of climate. I'm curious, again, she's been at this a lot longer than I've been, how she thinks we're doing when it comes to raising, again, the IQ, the civic IQ of our people around these all-important life and death issues. And then we'll close by asking her, in the next 4 years, as Trump 2.0 heads back to the Oval Office, what resistance looks like for us. You're listening to Tamara Toles O'Laughlin on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, attorney and environmentalist Tamara Toles O'Loughlin, who I'm pleased to have on this program as our final conversation of the year about the issue we've been tracking for the last 12 months, climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. Tamara, you've been at this a lot longer than I have, you and your mama, your precious mother. Tell me how you think we're doing in terms of raising the civic IQ of our people around these important issues.
I think people often ask me what gives me hope, and I say, I don't have hope, I have people. Everywhere I look, there are young folks who have made connections in places that the folks before them knew about but weren't able to access because we were too busy fighting for everything at the level of basic dignity. And so I think what happens is we are now in a moment where there's successive generations of folks calling for clean air, clean water, a carceral state that either doesn't exist or exists to actually help people move through the system into rehabilitation and care. And so given that we have had to fight these things simultaneously before under the threat of violence from the state, it felt like we were doing it separately. What we know now, thanks to communication and all the ways we can talk to each other in conversations like these online and offline, we know we all care. And some of us are working one front while others are working the other. And so every day that I meet someone who cares about education, we end up talking about climate. Every time I meet someone who cares about taxes, we end up talking about climate. Whenever I meet someone who cares about youth and violence and access to care, we are talking about environment. And so every day I meet someone else who's already a partner in the work. The question is, how many of these conversations can we engage in before we give up all of the internet to people who just want us to be scared?
Yep. Got about 3 minutes left here, and I want to just probe this right quick here. You went through this. I want to follow you. There's no doubt in my mind that this issue, climate, connects with young people, or vice versa, depending on how one wants to phrase it. Not unlike the issue of Gaza, connected with young people. What is it about this issue that does, in fact, get the attention and the engagement of young people in particular?
They are the bearers of the future. The military, no matter what positions it takes, uses up more environmental resources than any other specific industry in the world. And so kids who are worried about war and kids who are worried about living and dying, kids who are worried about an environment they will inherit are watching their investment. We're supposed to be taking care of it, just like the people before us took care of what they had and handed us over what was left. And so as they watch diminishing returns coming in their direction, they want to get active while they have the energy. And I think we should be supporting them because those of us who have wisdom might be dwindling in energy. It's time for a handover.
I hear you. I close with this as the exit question. What does then resistance look like over the next 4 years?
More of the same. more of us in every conversation, more of us choosing not to be numb or to step out or to tap out of conversations, to engage in every room we're in to make sure we are not on the menu, but we are in a decision-making seat. And that's regardless of who's at the top, because even the president's powers are limited.
Yeah. I lied. Here's my exit question. What is the joy in this for you? I was talking earlier today about joy as a form of black resistance. Where's the joy in this for you?
Oh, my God. I love my people. I love the way that we make everything fun, including the degradation of if we cleaning up a park, it's fun. If we are going to the polls, we dance. If we are serving our communities to build our capacity to be in relationship, we make joy out of it. So being of people who make joy as the primary product that we distribute to the rest of the globe, I am excited to keep doing that alongside new people with different ways to do it because they keep it interesting.
Standing in the tradition of her ancestors and specifically of her precious mother, Tamara Toles Laughlin is doing her work on these issues of climate. She's an attorney and environmentalist who I've been honored to have had on this program. Tamara, thank you for your work in Witness. Happy holidays, and I appreciate you coming on the program.
Thanks, same to you.
All right, take care. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Donald Trump's 34-count hush money felony conviction will stand. A New York judge denied his motion to dismiss the indictment and verdict, rejecting his argument